So I created a video really where an AI from the future was warning us about what was happening right now, so people would understand what was happening. And so I created and it's you can look at it on jeffbooth.ca, but you can yeah, I created in four different pieces of AI, different versions of AI. One to create the avatar, one to create the script through GPT, one to create text to voice, and then in a different one to stitch it all together. And it's remarkable. It could get better. It will get better. But now imagine. So that took 15 minutes. Nothing of my time compared to what you would have had to do to hire a studio just months ago to be able to try to create something like that. In 6 months, maybe a year, that will be doing it itself. And you could create it. You could create essentially, if you had enough control of the AI, you could say you could have objective function to be able to figure out how to change people's minds on X, right? And 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 it'll measure how long you're on videos, how long you're on text, how long, and then it'll keep changing to be able to ensure it's making sure that you are acting the way somebody else wants you to. And so if the communication channels are all centralized and money is not, what do you think what do you think the Fed would have to do to, let's use GitHub as an example, right? So if Microsoft gets an executive order to shut down certain pieces of technology that free people, Microsoft will have to comply, just like the Chinese government, just like Apple complies with the Chinese government. And so it is, and so that's a very real reason why people should take what's happening and look at Nostr. And by the way, there's a huge benefit for individuals to get onto those programs, those decentralized networks too right now, because it benefits them. But even if you just looked at the risk of the communication channels and what you will see out of the communication channels, centralizing that much power of AI in centralized organizations, the AI will be used against you, not for you. The only way the AI is actually going to be used for you is with Bitcoin.
And so for someone that hears that and doesn't understand why Bitcoin alone is able to do that, why is Bitcoin unique in its ability to pivot these technologies that could be threats towards benefits for us? Why is Bitcoin unique in that sense? And is Bitcoin that foundational layer? Is it one of them, like money is one, communication is one, or is money the foundational layer?
Money is the foundational one, but because money is the foundational one and there's so much power in controlling money, then the next one above that to control money would be communication channels,
Yeah.
right? You mentioned Hitler and World War II, the propaganda machine. And if you don't think you're in a propaganda machine, right, you're not looking hard enough. You're in a propaganda machine. And you just don't, it's hard to realize that you are in one too. And so I wrote an article called Finding Signal in a Noisy World that explains at depth, and some people need to read it like 3 or 4 times to be able to really comprehend that, but why Bitcoin was alone and being decentralized and secure, and what it sacrificed to be able to do so on the base layer. And assuming that holds, which I try to disprove all the time.
Me as well.
Assuming that holds, then nothing is going to stop Bitcoin over time. Now, it could be choke point, different things, stop communications, and it'll go underground and it'll come out the other side. But nothing will stop Bitcoin from advancing, if that's the case. The more important thing is, why wouldn't you want it to? Like, I came to a conclusion in a long time now, probably 2 years ago, but even my own actions, and this is, and I would ask people that are listening to this to think through this too, but even my own actions, I had, let's call a certain portion in Bitcoin in self-custody, and most of my life was built in the fiat world. And most of my actions were in the fiat world. I was spending in fiat. I was advising companies in fiat. Most of my actions were there. And I realized, and I was one of the people that understood, like really understood the transition we were in. And I thought, wow, 90% of my actions are spent reinforcing the world I don't want to see. And I have to change that. So the reason for the venture capital fund in this space was to spend more of my time, spend the 90% of my actions on creating the world I wanted to see versus talking about it. I wanted to actually take action, make that happen. But it's so easy. It's so easy to, okay, I'm safe because I have an allocation to Bitcoin and I'm going to spend all my time here. That's not going to be very safe. Right? The world is going to change radically, and it's going to be, and I think we need to do more to think about where do we spend the time to transition that. I should probably highlight that just because the existing system is collapsing, so there is no deflationary collapse from the new system,
Yeah.
right? And that's really important to note. It's just a slow transition, and all prices are falling forever when measured against a currency that can't be manipulated. Just like should happen, prices falling to the marginal cost of production. So prices just keep falling in the new system. Reason why people think they're going up and down and everything else is from the manipulation of the existing system,
Yeah.
and its impact on, like you say, unit bias. That because we measure everything from that, like you said, we measure gas prices, we measure house prices, we measure everything from that system, our jobs, everything from that system, when that system is becoming more and more unstable.
And I think it's not just about stability or instability too, which is, in my view, more of a financial view, but I think also just from a base layer technological view, I think that's also the case. If I am a person in the early 1800s and I'm wanting to get into the locomotive business, or I'm wanting to get in, stay in my business of raising and breeding and training horses, or, take any example, light bulb, candle, internet, newspaper,
exactly.
it's the same thing. It's like, and that's, I met somebody briefly yesterday, I didn't even catch their name, but they were talking about how they bought Bitcoin cheap and sold it later for more, and I was explaining to someone else I was with that people that are buying Bitcoin cheap and then selling it to make a profit don't understand that they actually have the exact same biases that people that think Bitcoin's a scam or that's worthless and never would touch it in a million years. It's the exact same bias, that they think that they're making money by taking profits in a technological paradigm that will only continue to fall in relative value to the new one. And so it's not, I fully agree with you, stability, instability, those financial terms, but I think it's even just a matter of paradigms. I mean,
They're measuring getting rich in fiat dollars that are being manipulated, and so then where do I put that money, right?
Yeah.
And it's that treadmill of trying to find more and more areas that can outpace my money losing value, right? That's and it's a mug's game. Like lots of people are going to play it, but it's an insane game to play.
One thing, and this is more of a side, I just love to run it by you. But a thread I've been working on is really diving into that. I know I just posted one about that, but one of my theories, one of my thoughts is that we have a window of where our brains understand the world as it is because of technology. And if we go before that window or we're after that window, or we try to envision ourselves before or after that window, it's very difficult to do. And as technology gets faster, that window shrinks. And so, maybe 1,000 years ago it was a century, and now maybe it's a few decades, and maybe in a century it's a few years. And I wonder, is it even nonsensical to try to price Bitcoin? Because if we assume Bitcoin survives and it exits that window to where we can't even envision, we'll be exchanging Bitcoin for technologies that we can't even conceive of yet. And so, people ask me, will Bitcoin go to $1 million or $10 million or $100 million? And I don't know, for me, that's where my headspace is. It's like, not only is it going to those absurd numbers in fiat terms, but what if it goes so far beyond our wildest imaginations because it's in a world that we can't even envision? So I'm sure you agree with that mostly, but I'd love to hear any thoughts you have on that.
Yeah, the only thought is I don't think about price at all.
Yeah.
I think about, you have a bearer instrument that is decentralized and secure with unlimited velocity inside that bearer instrument, and a new network emerging. So that network doesn't require debt to function. That network doesn't to create value. So that value exchange is instant, final, all over the world, and there's nothing. And as that network grows, that network effect adds more value to each person on that network, and forever. Like, it's actually a network effect. This is the mind-boggling thing. Most network effects eventually fail because of centralization. So because if you looked at Google, or if you looked at YouTube, or if you looked at Twitter today,
Or
as
Facebook, or yeah.
as Facebook, as they centralize, they have to make decisions that hurt people, that make decisions for some people versus others. And so, but they're really powerful as they're growing, right? Those, but then and that's why people stay. Early adopters to it get so much value. They get seen. They couldn't be seen before, and now they get seen. Their content gets seen by lots of other people, and then it attracts more and more people, and it races to, and it centralizes. What if you had a network effect, that it had the same process but stayed decentralized and secure? And that means that we participate in the value forever, all of the people, like not just a couple people, all of the people, and it stays. So you have a network effect that literally goes on forever onto something like this, and it makes it more decentralized and secure. And the price is falling as a result of that network effect. Means you live your life with way less work, right? Because it's not required, because that productivity drives prices down, and you have more time. That's what this new system looks like, but it's so hard to see. And people are so scared because they're so scared because they're living in this system that looks exactly the opposite, and they have less and less time to think. And as they have less and less time to think, and they're working harder and harder and harder, they can't explore this like you and I are talking about now. So they spend their time trapped in the system, making that system stronger, when it's really quite simple what this is doing, what this transition looks like. Now, from a different part, if you knew some of these things, if you knew what this looks like, and had the time to be able to spend looking at, okay, these are two different systems, this is a transition, then you would probably want to build all your time where the transition was going, because that would be the best use of your time, the highest best use of your time than in the existing fiat world that was being destroyed. And so, similar to looking at the train before the dawn of the horse, like where was the economic value, and where were or the advent of the internet, and what came out of that as a result of people who saw it, and what didn't, and where were people before. So there's just so much opportunity. There's so many businesses taking off that are going to create the new rails of commerce. And I would encourage my kids just to look deeper into these spaces, because when there's problems in the world, there's tons of opportunity to create value to solve those problems. And it all lives in this space today.
Thank you so much for watching my content and being a supporter of mine. I really appreciate it. It's a lot of fun for me to do, and it's really meaningful to know that so many people are enjoying my content and learning about Bitcoin. I think it's so important for people to get off zero. In addition to getting off zero, it is really critical. It is really important that you also begin taking self-custody of your sats and of your Bitcoin. This is because if you have Bitcoin on an exchange, or you don't have proper self-custody, this is going to be a massive problem for you in the future, most likely. If Bitcoin starts having rapid periods of appreciation, and there are rapid spikes in demand for Bitcoin education, and for Bitcoin advocates and advisors, it's going to be increasingly important that you have self-custody of those coins. So my message to you is, please consider getting that self-custody. Now, you can do that on your own. There are plenty of free tutorials online. There's plenty of great work like that. But if you want somebody to help you with self-custody, if you want somebody to help you take cold storage of your Bitcoin, of your Satoshis, if you want somebody to help you set up a multi-sig vault, to set up an estate plan, to set up a plan for you as a person, an individual, as a business owner, as a charity, whatever the case, I work at the Bitcoin Advisor, and I'm happy to say that I really enjoy it. I love working with my clients. My job is literally to help people buy Bitcoin and secure it properly for years, decades, and generations to come. So if you want to learn about my services at the Bitcoin Advisor and what we do, you should click the link in the description. Here you can read a bit about what I do. You can book a free consultation with me. You can book a free meeting with me. I'll send you lots of free complimentary paperwork explaining how multi-sig vaults work, cold storage, giving you all the education you need. Everything's fully open source, what we do. Our main goal is education, helping get coins off exchanges, and people be able to not lose sleep at night when they buy and secure their Bitcoin. So you can feel free to book a meeting with me. The first one is free and complimentary, just to figure out what your priorities are and get that adjusted. But if that's something that could be used to you, I really highly encourage you to take self-custody, whether that's with me or not. Please just do it. But for the many of you that probably will eventually want a multi-sig collaborative custody vault, the Bitcoin Advisor could be the place to go. And so click the link in the description, check that out. Really appreciate your time.